Зараз не лякайтесь, ви почуєте те, з чим ми живемо вже 25 днів. Звук, який став звичним для усіх наших міст.
For only $8 a month, you can sponsor a celebrity like Stephen and give them the peace of mind they deserve. You'll receive a starter pack with a plushie of your chosen celebrity. And each month they'll drop you a note to let you know how they're getting on. Please, reach deep into those pockets today. Because today could be Stephen's last.
Вже 25 днів.
What's up, everyone? Jeremy here from The Quartering. Feeling a little sad. I wasn't named by this wild group, I guess, linked to current President Joe Biden and representing, apparently, Ukraine and their desire for endless millions of dollars from the United States taxpayer. Look, I think it's pretty obvious. If it hasn't been up until now, it certainly is now to most Americans and most people around the world, that what is going on in Ukraine is simply a proxy battle between the U.S. and Russia. That's all it is. Everybody knows it. Everybody sees it. Billions of dollars are disappearing over the sea. Certain people are enriching themselves. Piles of cash is disappearing. And Americans are sick and tired of it. Again, just like many of the other foreign theaters that are going on right now, I feel for the civilians that are caught up in both sides. You know, is it that crazy for me to say, hey, I don't have a horse in either one of these four races, and I just worry about the citizens, the civilians that are caught up in all this. But I'm sorry, don't want to pay for it. I'm taxed at through the moon. Okay, my state level tax. I'm literally considering moving states because I'm taxed so deeply in Wisconsin that, I'm sorry, but I would like to keep a little bit more of my money as opposed to sending it to warmongers. All right. Well, now apparently a group has put Tim Pool and a bunch of other people. I'm a little disappointed I'm not on the list. Listen, group, I strongly oppose sending money to Ukraine, and I want that to be known. And I advise people vote for people that are not in favor of giving other foreign countries all of my tax dollars and their tax dollars. But this is an interesting report. It's not just Tim Pool, but also, I guess, Trump supporters, as they would call them, Trumpsters, apparently. I'm not totally sure where that name came from, but here you have Tim releasing an NGO in Ukraine, which has worked with USAID, included my name on a list with many others accused of, quote, impeding aid to Ukraine. I received this letter from Representative Jim Banks. Now, the full list is out. I'm going to go over that as well. But the thing says, Mr. Poole, I'm writing to inform you that your name appears on a list of individuals and groups, quote, in the United States impeding aid to Ukraine, published by a Ukrainian non-governmental organization, an NGO, called the Data Journalism Agency, which has worked with the United States Department of State and U.S. Agency for International Development. As you may be aware, other Ukrainian NGOs have published similar lists, which have published the personal information of those in apparent attempts to intimidate them. I have enclosed a copy of the letter and sent to the Appropriations Committee Chairman Cole. Cole, as well as the State and Foreign Operations Appropriations Subcommittee Chairman Marco Diaz-Balart, urging them to stop the State Department and USAID from partnering with any actors overseas who encourage harassment of Americans. Appropriations Committee markup of its bill to fund the State Department and USAID during the fiscal year 2025 is scheduled to take place tomorrow. I appreciate your attention to this matter. It continues here. It says, another letter, this from Chairman Tom Cole. I write you regarding the Department of State's Bureau of Educational and Cultural Affairs and the U.S. Agency for International Development's past partnerships with Data Journalism, a Ukrainian NGO. Texty was founded by Anatoly Bondarenko in 2010. Mr. Bondarenko worked as a trainer in the United States Department for a tech camp in 2015. Most recently, you said selected Texty as one of the 6 implementing partners on its transparency According to this report, the individuals on the hit list oppose supporting Ukraine. So, by the way, I don't oppose supporting Ukraine, so to speak. I oppose supporting sending my tax dollars there. I mean, I think that's pretty reasonable. I think that most people would, agree with that. Also in the letter is another Ukrainian NGO, Myro Traverts, maintained a database of alleged enemies of Ukraine. It published its targets' personally identifiable information, potentially placing those listed in harm's way in a transparent attempt to intimidate. The Ukrainian government, though, through its Center for Countering Disinformation, also maintains a list of individuals who allegedly promote narratives consistent with, of course, Russian propaganda, which, of course, is literally anything that goes against the military-industrial complex that pumps billions of United States tax dollars into the war machine. Federal bureaucrats should not support or partner with a foreign group that attempts to intimidate and silence United States citizens and lawmakers. I'm urging the Appropriations Committee majority to support efforts in the fiscal year to stop this bill and force the State Department saying to end all relations with foreign NGOs. Well, yeah, good luck with that. Good luck with that. You also see Chase Geyser and Alex Jones appeared on this list. And then when we look at, you're like, oh, is this some kind of big deal? Well, yes, it is. Enemies list of, quote, Trumpists and communists published by Biden-linked Ukraine group Lawmakers Charge. Ohio Republican Senator J.D. Vance and Florida Republican Matt Gaetz are demanding answers from Secretary of State Blinken surrounding a State Department-linked Ukrainian NGO that published a list of Americans labeled Trumpists and communists for their opposition to providing more U.S. funds to Ukraine. Again, I want to be on this list. I oppose it vehemently. I will only vote for people who promise to end it immediately when they get in office. Okay, is that good enough? You see J.D. Vance, who's considered a top contender for former President Trump's running mate. Huck says hi, everybody. In 2024 election, Gates sent the letter to Blinken on Wednesday demanding information, including any grant agreements the State Department has with the NGO and its founder, Anatoly Bondarenko. Texty.org.ua published a list of 388 individuals and 76 organizations identified as alleged Trumpists and communists for publicly opposing further funding to Ukraine as it continues battling Russia, as last month Congress approved a total of another $175 billion in aid and military assistance to Ukraine following the battle with Russia. Again, this is an obvious proxy war. Anybody can see that. On top of that, we can't secure our southern border. We've got no money to build a wall. We've got no money to hire people to patrol our border, but we've got money to give to Ukraine and their Nazi forces to fight against Russia as the United States taxpayer pays for that. If this were merely some random news outlet in a foreign nation, such a hit piece would be easily ignored, the lawmakers wrote. Bondarenko, the founder of Texty.org, however, is listed on a United States government website as supported by the United States Department of State, Bureau of Educational and Cultural Affairs. A link provided by the lawmakers to the Bureau of Educational and Cultural Affairs public diplomacy program website called Tech Camps detailed Bondarenko's is one of the founders of Texty.org, which is a news outlet that combines classical and digital journalism. He leads a team of 7 and is in charge of data journalism part of the newsroom with 4 people working as designers, programmers, and journalists at the same time. Well, all these individuals, by the way, on these lists, Vance and Gates called on Blinken to send them information by June 28th regarding all releasable material related to the Department of State support for Anatoly Bondarenko, or Texty.org, provide a list of any State Department directives, master agreements, or other policies that outline obligations of grantees or sub-grantees of the United Department. By the way, I just want to also be clear, I oppose sending money to Israel. I oppose it. I oppose sending money to Palestine. I oppose sending money anywhere to fund what we all know are both sides of these wars. A bunch of money, a bunch of taxpayer dollars gets to go to support and aid to Palestine, which really just, funds the terrorists that keeps the war going and keeps the war machine going, right? Needless to say, whatever one thinks of American foreign aid, I oppose literally all of it. To support for Ukraine, all Americans can agree our tax dollars should not be supporting direct attacks on United States persons based on reasonable political disagreement. I don't care if it's reasonable or not. I don't care if it's completely unreasonable. You don't get to put Americans on hit lists. You don't get to put Americans on, put on Americans' personally identifiable information to put them in harm's way to sympathizers here in America. We just saw yesterday 9 terrorists were arrested on American soil that had crossed over the southern border. Imagine if we had, I don't know, funded some sort of defense for the southern border. I think this last Orange Man guy was saying something about a big, beautiful wall, something like that. Imagine if we had done that, and by the way, who's to say that you can't have somebody sympathetic to Ukrainian, the endless money supply going into the Ukrainian, dark money world. Maybe some of them don't like Americans who speak out against it. Representative Marjorie Taylor Greene was also on the list. Greene, a Republican lawmaker from Georgia, has been one of the most outspoken voices in Congress against providing continued military and foreign aid. Hey, look, you want to talk about humanitarian aid? You want to get these people MREs so they can eat? We could talk about that. When we're sending tanks that are creating the need for these people to need MREs, I just don't support it. We're funding both sides of these wars and enriching the military-industrial complex, right? You see, on June 10th post, Marjorie Taylor Greene touted not getting a single penny to Ukraine and said the so-called enemies list reinforces our opposition to funding Eastern European nation. You see, here's the list. She points out, Zelensky's thug regime has deemed me as an enemy of the state, and for a good reason. Zelensky has never had one single American vote for him. Not only am I a Ukrainian enemy of the state, but I'm banned from Russia. Zelensky is a thug who doesn't deserve a single American tax dollar. All they care about is taking our money and weapons. Then they put out elected members of Congress like me on their hit list. Zelensky is the real enemy of democracy. Yeah, I don't disagree with that. Didn't they suspend their elections, by the way? I mean, I like how people are like, what are you talking about? What kind of list are you on? Why do you think that they created those lists? Do you think they just created it for bookkeeping reasons? Or do you think that, I don't know, maybe it's there to intimidate people? Maybe it's there so, foreign operatives operating on United States soil could go visit these people. I don't know. But certainly it should be viewed as, in my opinion, an act of aggression. When you have these people who, by the way, are taking billions of of the United States tax dollars, not my money, a few pennies of it, but a few pennies times 400 million adds up, right? They're taking all of our money and then they're publishing hit lists about United States citizens for not supporting it. I think that all aid should be immediately cut off and let whatever will be, will be. I hope you were informed by this video. If you were, please make sure you leave a like on it. If you haven't yet, please do subscribe down below. You only have probably an hour or two to get your Father's Day gift boxes over on Coffee Brand Coffee. So I won't put a big push on it here. I just mentioned at the end of the video, I think we're cutting off shipping at like 1 o'clock this afternoon. So make sure you grab that and we'll talk to you again real soon.